I bought some long dowel rods from the store known as Pat Catan's, and I've sectioned them off for the blade, which will be 23 inches, and for the handle, which will be 7.5 inches. As you can see right here, the handle is at least 2 times bigger than my hand, which is about the normal size of a real katana, since I tried to use real measurements when making these two katanas. I've actually decided I'm going to cut below that circle just for sanding purposes in case I want to sand off some edges. So I cut right on the circle. There is the sword, rough sword I mean. Then just do the same thing to the other one. Now you have two small rods, smaller rods, that will be the base for your swords. I started to round off the edge on the bottom because I like it. It's my own personal design, and you can honestly do whatever you want. You can make it a point. It's all just your personal preference. As you can see here, there is a drastic difference from the flat bottom to the round bottom. So that is why I like the round bottom better than the flat bottom. Right here, I sectioned off the sword, or one of the swords, into smaller segments. We are going to carve these out to give the handle an etched-in design, and again, it's all just personal preference. You can have a flat sword if you want to, or you can have less rings around your sword if you want to. But I chose to just section it off, and I'm going to cut it out like that. So when I was done with the etching in the sword, I decided to paint this handle with a flat black. I advise not doing the painting now because you're going to be doing a lot of work on the blade, and painting is going to be useless now. Here it is anyways. I really like this flat black color, so I advise doing a flat black as well. Dries pretty easily. Now we work on the blade. Never mind, I actually started working on the hilt first. So we're going to make a normal Deadpool Katana hilt, just a round circle. So what you can do is just trace the end of the handle and then get a slightly bigger round object and just go around the inner circle. And then cut that out. Do not glue that on yet, because when you're sanding the blade, it will get caught and might get ruined. Here is a very rough circle hilt that will soon be a clean circle hilt once I'm done sanding. Like I said, clean. So here it is. Here's the final hilt, other than it not being painted. Again, like I said before, do this when the swords are completely done, but just follow the instructions here. Glue this on the sword, right on the top of the handle, like so. Make sure it's straight, and you can just use hot glue, most likely on the bottom of the handle, so it's barely visible. Like I said before, there is the hot glue. I probably could have did a neater job, but I don't think I did too bad. So now we start with the blade itself. The wood showing on the top of the stick here on each side of my thumbs is what I'm going to shave down with said grinder. Just going to work away at each side. As you can see, the lines going down are going to be eventually the top of the blade. And you'll understand what I mean by top of the blade later in the video. Once you get a good feel of how you're going to sand the blade, I started to draw an edge going down on my preferred side on where the edge of the blade's going to be, and connected it to the other side as well. Right here you can see perfectly by what I mean by top of the blade. The V there, the bottom of the V is going to be the edge of the blade, and the two tips of the V is just going to be a rounded edge that I'm not going to sand into an edge. Just, again, this sword is a lot of my personal preferences. You can make up your own katana swords, you can do whatever you want with this, so it's just your personal preference. So this is going to be what the tip is going to look like of this sword. Then you would just do the same exact thing, working your way down the whole sword. I actually started to mark the exact top and exact bottom for both swords, so you know where the sides are. If you know what I mean, like how you sand both sides to get an edge, this is how you know where the right and left sides are compared to the top and bottom of the blades. I then presume to make even more lines going down the swords, showing the bevels for both sides, including the top and bottom of the sword. As you can see there, that is the top, and then it leads to a bevel. See, I wrote bevel there just so I know where to sand. That whole side is going to be sanded. As you can see, I started doing the top already on each bevel, and then I'm going to work my way down until the sword is done. And that is the top. You do not sand the top in my design here, of course. You just sand those two spots where it says bevel. This is the final sanded product of the blade. Just a little more refinements, maybe a little more sanding here and there, and you're done. As you can see, the top is still smooth, and the bevels are actually beveled to make it look like the edges of a blade. And like I was saying before, do not add the hilt until the full blade is done, because right here, the blade hilt, as I was sanding everything, it got caught and cut up, and I had to rip it off. So do not do this, and before the whole thing is sanded, add it, because you're just going to have to rip it off anyways when you start sanding. I then presumed to do the same exact technique for the opposite sword, and now the sanding is complete. I did everything exact to the tip, to where the hilt used to be, and I am honestly loving these swords. So then we move on to the next step of this process. It's painting. So what you're going to do is take some painter's tape, tape off however long you want to on the handle so you don't spray paint the handle silver by accident, say about a couple inches where my fingers are pointing, and then presume to paint where the blades are on both blades with silver spray paint. So now we're going to need some sword sheaths to hold these swords. Right here I just got some PVC pipe. I squeeze the ends a little bit so that they are not as thick and the swords can be stopped when you put them in. And I'm going to, after I put some Gorilla Tape around them to hold them in place, I'm going to wrap them in foam, and it's going to be kind of like a casing to hold them together, and I'm going to be using Gorilla Glue, hot glue, everything to hold these together. Right here, I actually added screws into the foam. This is actually a bad idea because they eventually went through the pipes and you cannot access the full potential of the pipe because they're blocking and you can't put your swords in. So it's just something I wasn't really thinking about, but it's actually good to have because while you're gluing, you need something to hold it in place. So maybe you want to do that just to hold the glue in place. And as you can see right here, this little piece is going to be added into the top just to cover up some of that tape that is showing. Now to attach these swords and sheath to your back, you're going to need some strong support. So I got this nice belt, but it is kind of too short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these leather straps over the holes so I can make the belt stronger, and then I'm going to make it longer as well. So just do it like this. Use some Gorilla Glue, hot glue, super glue, whatever is the strongest glue that you have, and I mean strongest because this is going to be holding a sheath on your back. Use it to hold this leather down, and then you're going to have to make it longer. See, because right here you can see it's too short. So get some more leather and glue it to the extension, or the cover if you want to call it a cover. My belt is going to have to be about 51 inches. That's reaching my hip to my shoulder. So however long your belt needs to be, just make it. You can use any kind of leather for an extension, any color leather belt, any color leather jacket. I have a leather jacket. Sometimes you can get tarps. I actually have a big tarp in my house, but I just didn't use it for this because I didn't like the color. So you can use whatever you want, and then just glue it on the inside right there on both. So you can lift that up and then glue it, because it's going to be double layered. So you can glue each layer sandwiched around the belt. You see, here's the new extension I was talking about. So you can just kind of sandwich it in between the initial belt by putting a piece on the bottom and beneath the new bottom cover, and then you can put one piece on top of the belt and then beneath the new top cover. How I added the belt, I just glued a strap on the bottom, strap on the top, weave this through. This is going to be on your back, so this would go over your shoulder, this would go underneath your arm, buckle it up, and that would be that. I actually added a new strap though, which is right here, that I just attached on the opposite shoulder side for the back side of the sheath. This would go over the other shoulder, not the same shoulder that this belt would go over, and this just gives it a little bit more support for not falling backwards on your back. Just glued this with Gorilla Glue, and I just spray painted everything black, and that would be it. Another Deadpool Cosplay video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And most of all, thank you everybody for watching. Hope to see you in the next